Okay, let's talk about it. The thing that's on everyone's mind, AI and your job. It's this huge, messy conversation, right? On one hand, you've got all this incredible hype, and on the other, just a lot of fear. So, what we're going to do today is cut through all that noise. We're going to try to separate the myth from the reality.
Because, let's be real. This is the question, isn't it? The one that might keep you up at night. Is AI going to take my job? After all the years you spent honing your skills, could they just become obsolete? It's a totally valid thing to worry about. So let's just tackle it head on. Let's see what the data actually says.
And whoa, when you first see the numbers, it is staggering. Goldman Sachs ran the numbers and came up with this 300 million jobs. That's the number of jobs they estimate could be lost or just diminished by AI worldwide. A number that huge, you can't ignore it. And yeah, that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from. But is that the whole story?
And that brings us right to our first big myth. The idea that AI is just this giant tidal wave of job destruction, that it's going to come in, wash everything away, and leave nothing but chaos behind. But, when you look at history, the reality is always a little more complicated than that. And this is what's so interesting when you pull back and get some perspective. Goldman Sachs actually points this out. They say, look, we've been here before. Every time there's a huge new technology, people predict mass unemployment. But those predictions have, and I'm quoting here, a poor track record. And there's a reason for that. Technology doesn't just eliminate work, it changes it.
Yeah, check this out. This really flips the script. More than 85% of all job growth in the US since 1940. That didn't come from old jobs. It came from completely new jobs created by technology. So it's not just about disruption. Technology is this incredible engine for job creation, too. That's the other side of the coin we forget about.
Okay, so new jobs get created. But what about the jobs we have right now? Well, that leads us to myth number 2. The idea that you can just plug AI into your work and poof, you've got an instant productivity miracle. The assumption that these tools make everybody faster, better, stronger from day one. Well, a recent study says maybe we need a little reality check.
And this is where things get really wild. So a research group called METAR did this study with some really experienced software developers. These are people who know what they're doing. They went in thinking, okay, this AI tool is going to make me about 24% faster. Makes sense, right? But the actual result, it slowed them down by 19%. That gap between expectation and reality it's huge.
So, what happened? Why the slowdown? Well, the study dug into it. Turns out trying to integrate the AI's code was a pain. They spent a ton of time just double-checking everything the AI spat out. And honestly, it was kind of distracting. But here's the kicker. For any task where quality really mattered, it needed more human oversight, not less. It just proves that AI isn't some magic button you press. Its usefulness really, really depends on the situation.
And this all leads us to myth number 3, and it's a big one. The idea that to survive this, we all have to become coders or AI engineers. But if AI is struggling with the complex, high-stakes stuff, well, that actually points us directly to where our true advantage is, our human advantage. Think about it. AI is incredible at processing data, for sure. But it just can't do what makes us, us. It doesn't have real emotional intelligence. It can't feel empathy. It can mash up existing ideas, but true, original storytelling, not so much. And it definitely has no clue about ethics or how to make a tough call in a messy, gray area situation. That's the human touch. You just can't code that. And look, this isn't just some feel-good theory. The World Economic Forum put out a list of the top skills for 2025. And guess what? It's not a list of programming languages. It's things like analytical thinking, creativity, resilience, leadership, empathy. These are all deeply, fundamentally human skills. So where does this stuff matter? Well, think about healthcare. Sure, an AI could probably spit out a diagnosis, but can it sit with a scared patient and offer real comfort? No way. Or what about teachers? Being a great teacher isn't just about dumping information. It's about inspiring a kid, adapting on the fly when they're not getting it. That's human connection. Same for any creative professional, right? A painter, a writer, a musician. Their job is to tap into something original and emotional to make you feel something.
And hey, it's not just white-collar jobs. Think about skilled trades. Plumbers, electricians, they have to solve unexpected physical problems in the real world, right there on the spot. Robots are just nowhere close to being able to do that. So it feels like a lot of jobs are pretty safe for now, right? But we also have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because this technology is moving at a crazy pace, and it's forcing us to ask some really big questions about, well, about how our whole society is structured.
Yeah, there's this idea that some experts talk about called the AI takeoff. It's basically the moment, the tipping point, where AI gets so smart it starts improving itself over and over again, super fast. So fast that it just blows past human intelligence. Now, we have no idea when or even if this will happen, but just thinking about it shows you the scale of what we're potentially dealing with.
And a future like that is forcing some really big policy conversations to happen right now. You've probably heard of Universal Basic Income, or UBI. And as Juliana Bitadoner at Stanford points out, it's not just about, here's a check. The debate is really about freedom, about power, and about making sure people still have control in a world where work itself could be totally different. Okay, so after all that, the myths, the stats, the future gazing, what's the one thing you should take away from all this? Right here, right now. It's this. It's not about being replaced. It's about adapting. So how do you do that? Well, there's a pretty clear path. First, you've got to double down on those human skills we've been talking about. Creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, all that good stuff. Second, you just have to stay adaptable. Be ready to learn new things forever, basically. Be open to new tools, maybe even totally new roles. And finally, lean into the stuff that requires a real human being. The work that needs judgment, empathy, connection, the things an AI just can't fake.
Because in the end, this isn't a story about humans versus machines. It's just not. It's about humans with machines. The most powerful thing in the future isn't going to be AI by itself. It's going to be our own human intelligence, supercharged by AI. So the question we should be asking isn't, what is AI going to destroy? The real question is, what are you going to build with it?